There was no better time, no better era than playing for the Lakers in the 80s.
Showtime was like nothing you had ever seen before. It was running and gunning. It was Magic Johnson up and down the court, fast breaking, alley-ooping, no-look passing, just remarkable.
It was a spectacle. That's the word I would use, an absolute spectacle.
You had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Byron Scott, Michael Cooper, Superman Kurt Rambis, all of those guys that became basically household names. And then I get drafted by them in '85.
The Lakers meant everything. And I remember those guys out there running up and down the court in those little bitty old short shorts that they used to wear. I almost had to stop going to the game because I got so excited. I would hit the person next to me. I would start beating on them when I got excited. And my husband would always say, "You can't do that." And I said, "I'm not intending to do it, but I'm excited."
The Forum was like the place to be. It had like a red carpet canopy type entrance, and you could watch like the limos and the fancy cars roll up, and then the stars, and Diane Cannon always comes to mind, would stroll out down this red carpet into this VIP entrance.
I used to get there early during showtime and leave late. It was a time of celebration. It was a time of knowing what you had and enjoying it. It was a time of victory. No matter what else was going on, the Lakers lifted the city, the country. And as a matter of fact, I went through a divorce. I let him keep the house and I got the floor seats. That's how important the Lakers are to me.
Showtime at that particular time just meant winning. You know, we always said the jersey, you know, when we put on that Laker purple and gold, you know, the name on the front of the jersey is more important than the back, so it's all about the team. If you put that jersey on, you better be ready to perform, no excuses.
There was winning and there was misery, and there was nothing else in between.
When we won, we had fun, and we smiled, and we celebrated, and we listened to music. And when we lost, we both went down that dark rabbit hole and we just waited for the next practice or the next game to get after it.
What also helped was having an enemy, meaning the Celtics, that everybody hated.
It was a true rivalry. We hated them, they hated us.
Because you had two guys that created a rivalry between one another, brought that into a league in which their teams became rivals and then which their cities became rivals. And areas of the country, just cut it down the middle. You got East Coast, you got West Coast.
Oh, you put Larry Bird and Magic Johnson in a game of tiddlywinks, they're going to kill each other to win.
It was a script right out of Hollywood, honestly. The Celtics were the lunch pail, physical, blue-collar guys. The Lakers, they were glamorous, they were glitzy, they were fast-moving. The way Magic would pass the ball, it was just electric.
A guy this big shouldn't be able to do things this amazing with the basketball.
He was the size of a power forward, but he was playing the point guard position. And not only could he handle the ball, it was the way he could pass. He was just an incredible passer. The no-look passes, the last-second passes.
I just got to make sure my hands are always ready because he's going to throw passes where you swear up and down that he's not looking at you, he can't see you. And he's going to end up hitting you in the head if you're not watching.
I got hit in the head, face, elbow, lip, eye, ear with so many of his passes because normal people don't pass the ball in basketball at that time, at that moment, when they're not looking at you. But with Magic Johnson, that's when he's going to pass you the ball. And I learned that the hard way.
I mean, the 6'9" point guard racing down the court. You watched Magic Johnson, and you could not take your eyes off of him.
He brought entertainment, he brought passion, he brought winning, he brought championships, he brought not settling for second place. He brought all that here.
You just wondered, how many NBA championships will it be? How many MVP awards will it be? And he racked them both up. 5 NBA championships, 3 MVP awards, 3 NBA Finals MVP awards. Magic was magical. And if you were a Laker fan, you loved it. And if you weren't, you were terrified.
People talk about, well, Kobe's the greatest Laker, Shaq's the greatest Laker, LeBron's the greatest Laker. Nobody's even close to Magic as being the greatest Laker.
He's got the it factor. He has that passion, that vivacity of life, that determination, that love.
I came from a small city, Tucson, Arizona, where there was no pro basketball team. And I remember when I got the job here at Fox 11, I said to somebody, I'm going to LA and I'm going to marry Magic Johnson. I mean, all due respect to Cookie, of course. You know, he was the guy. He was a superstar. His smile was just gorgeous. His energy on the court, just what he brought to the game of basketball, one of the greatest ever.
How can you not like Magic Johnson? I mean, he's just got this wonderful, happy spirit about him.
He was just bigger than life.
Always smiling, always hugging, always being optimistic, always laughing.
Everybody fell in love with him from the minute they first saw him.
Magic Johnson was must-see TV, and then suddenly, in an instant,
Good evening, everyone. Sad and shocking news tonight. Basketball superstar Magic Johnson has the HIV virus, the virus that causes AIDS.
That was it, you know, the cat was out of the bag, and just like that, Showtime was over.
Training camp had started. He was, playing just like the Magic we knew of.
I'd rather be playing than on vacation. You can believe that.
And so we felt that we had a team, ready to, win another championship.
So we're playing the game, and then all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, and I cannot tell you why, but it hit me like a bolt of lightning that beyond our physical exam, we took out a life insurance policy. And that insurance company, their blood panel, they run an HIV screening. You start putting two and two together. Showtime, Magic, LA, blood panel, HIV screening. It had to be it. And because we had multiple relationships, we'll call them, okay? And it just hit me.
Hindsight being 20/20, if we all could go back, when he started missing practices and was going to the doctor on a regular basis, would come on the bus or come to practice, you could tell they had just drawn blood, because you could see the little Band-Aid with the cotton ball right there. But at that particular point, really didn't think nothing of it.
I get a call first thing in the morning from Dr. Mickey Melman, and before he says a word, I said, he's HIV positive, isn't he? And his exact word, I remember this like it was yesterday, I knew you'd figure it out. And so I asked, well, what's the chances of a false positive? He said, very low. I said, okay, so what are we gonna say? So Magic decides I would consider this heroically, because he could have not said anything, I mean, he had HIPAA rights, but there were so many partners in order to let them know, that, hey, you need to go get checked before you have a relationship with anybody else. The only way to do it was to make a public statement.
On the 7th, we went over to Loyola Marymount for our practice time.
And Jerry West calls me and he goes, there's been a leak, get everybody out of the gym, tell them not to talk to anybody, and come back to the forum, no exceptions. And so we have a few players that are grumbling, and I said, listen, the only thing I can tell you is that what you hear today is going to change your life forever. And I don't know why I'm so emotional about this, because look at the guy, he's going to outlive all of us. But at that time, we didn't think that. And so somehow, when I talk about this, I return to that dark place.
We knew it had to be something, and something important for us to be at practice and now go to the forum to have a team meeting.
So we were done with practice, we were just shooting free throws. And I remember myself and James working, James and I looked at each other, and James said, what do you think going on? I said, I don't know, but it's gotta be something with Herb, because he's been here, but he hasn't practiced. I said, something's going on with Herb. And I said, and kind of even jokingly, I said, I hope it's nothing like HIV or something. And then we just kind of stopped. and looked at each other and was like, oh.
We walked through the locker room doors, and then there we have some of our medical team, and then our, of course, trainers, and then a lot of our upper executives are there inside the room. Of course, Mr. West is also present.
And Irvin comes in. And he comes in, he's got his suit on, looking dapper, smiling, and basically stood in front of all of us and told us that he had contracted the HIV virus, that he was retired, and there wasn't a dry eye in the room.
He looked like a rock. I'm falling apart. Then he went to each individual and gave him a hug and whispered something in their ear.
A lot of hugs, a lot of tears. Everyone had something they wanted to say to Irvin. We had a chance to, pray, say a prayer together.
I'm crying, he's hugging me, and he's whispering in my ear. He said, B, I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna beat this. And in my mind, at that particular time, from the knowledge that I knew of, HIV and AIDS, death sentence. I'm hugging my closest teammate, one of my best friends, and he's not going to be here much longer.
And then he gets to me, and I said, it's okay, man, you and I have already done this. And he hugged me, and then he said in my ear, he goes, yeah, but it doesn't make it any easier. And those were his words to me. And then he went upstairs, and he told the world.
They break into programming, and you can see a shot of this room filled with cameras beyond capacity. Reporters just milling about, waiting for this to begin.
There was a great deal of tension because everyone knew something was coming, and there was a sense of foreboding that it wasn't going to be good.
Magic steps up to the microphone, and you could just see it on his face.
First of all, let me say good late afternoon.
He just looked distraught. Gone was the trademark smile, and he just blurted it out and said,
because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers today.
It was one of the most amazing moments in LA sports history. For him to say those words, HIV, nobody had said those words in relation to him before that. Today there have been speculation, there have been Twitters, there have been predictions. Nobody had any idea.
I just want to make clear, first of all, that I do not have the AIDS disease, because I know a lot of you want to know that, but the HIV virus.
Magic Johnson standing in front of the world and saying, this is who I am and I'm HIV positive, and that does not take away from my championships, from my ability as an athlete, from my inspiration as a human, as a husband and as a partner, and as a father. He knew what he had to do, the responsible decision he was making, the impact that it would have on himself and the world, and the people closest to him in his life. And he was doing something that was truly selfless.
I'm so amazed that it hit me like that right now, because he's fine.
It's another challenge, another chapter in my life that it's like being, your back is against the wall. And I think that you just have to come out swinging.
Your heart just sunk. I felt for him as a man, as a son, as a husband, as a superstar.
I was just like most people in America. I was very shocked, devastated about it.
In the sports world, it's the equivalent of a president being shot.
He's a hero to me, to everybody that loves sports, I think to everybody across this country.
Well, the only thing you can say is, hey, I love you, and if you need me, I'll be there for you.
He is a symbol and a devastating reminder of a harsh reality. This disease affects everybody, no matter how famous, how wealthy, how strong.
I was shocked, and I thought, oh my God, he's gonna die. I mean, that was the first thing I thought about because we had so many deaths of, you know, AIDS victims at that time.
The majority of Angelenos who saw that press conference thought, we're looking at a dead man. We're looking at a dead man, because they didn't know any difference.
I was growing up in the black community, and so people had HIV in the black community, and almost everyone I knew died. In fact, I can't remember if I knew anybody who had survived.
You think your friend's gonna die, okay? Because that's all you've ever heard. You never heard anybody overcoming, beating, getting back to a normal way of life who've contracted this particular virus.
I remember going to Celtics practice, and Larry was just beside himself, didn't talk to anybody. He said it was the first time in his life that he didn't feel like playing basketball.
To say that I was shocked would be an underestimation. It was one of the hardest blows that I've ever taken as a man in the game because of my affection and love for Irvin.
Magic Johnson was like his son, and so he wanted to pay homage to him even though he was no longer with the Laker organization.
Before last night's Knicks game at the Garden against Orlando, Riley called both teams together to pray for his friend.
I would like to ask all of us, if we could, to give our love and our support and our prayers for Irvin, our Father who art in heaven.
20,000 people at Madison Square Garden stood up and recited the Lord's Prayer. So it was a very powerful, poignant moment that I'll never forget, ever forget.
Thank you. I was the one leading the charge about, you know, boycotting the next few games, because I just told I can't think about a game when I'm thinking about a friend.
So really, what's important? Is it important that we're not going to win because we lost our guy? Or is it important that we're losing somebody we love? Now winning's not so important anymore. And that really changed the way that I looked at life.
People felt as though a member of their own family had suddenly received this diagnosis. It was a gut punch, but I think, you know, Magic, in the way that only he could, he led the charge, because he looked into that camera and he said, "Don't be sad for me. I'm going to go on. I'm going to have a great life. I'm going to beat this." And people looked at that and we all marveled at his strength, and he somehow managed to get even a little bit of a smile out.
I plan on going on, living for a long time, bugging you guys like I've always have.
He was trying to joke with the media that I'll still be around and I'll still be bugging you guys, but all you could think of is that this man is suddenly in the fight of his life, literally fighting for his life. And if Magic Johnson could contract this disease, anybody could. So it was a game changer.
It wasn't surprising to me that sooner or later you were going to get a heterosexual superstar who's well known throughout the world that's going to get infected. Because most people thought that it was only confined to gay men.
He took it out of the shadows, out of the dark corners where we see the poor gentleman wrapped in blankets, shivering on wheelchairs, and took it to center court. He literally brought HIV to mid-court. He literally brought it to Showtime. He literally brought it under the lights.
I do not have the AIDS disease.
There has never been anything like this announced publicly by such a big star, and his sharing and his willing to put his private life on display was unprecedented and made a huge difference for people's understanding of the disease and then how to fight the disease.
The only way to drive change is to talk about it and create opportunities, because for the first time it allowed people to talk about HIV/AIDS at the dinner table.
It made us all take a second look at HIV and ask questions like, how much do we know about this? And so I think a lot of us did a lot more homework.
Safe sex is the way to go. I think sometimes we think, well, only gay people can get it, only well, it's not going to happen to me, and here I am saying that it can happen to anybody, even me, Magic Johnson.
After his disclosure, I think that there were much more open conversations that occurred in schools, in homes, and probably in some religious circles. I'm sure that there were some teen groups, youth groups, where they said, hey, we're going to sit down and talk about this. Might be a little tough, but we're going to talk about it.
We see that it can happen to anybody.
Sex is not a game.
You know, it is possible that me as a black young male can catch AIDS.
I want you to get this.
He was just the perfect spokesperson. Kids looked up to him, men looked up to him, you know, women loved him. He was the perfect person to have in that position to be able to tell people, you know, practice safe sex. You know, and of course, people are going to listen. You know, they're going to listen to him.
Magic not only educated the masses about HIV, AIDS, how to have safe sex, but I tell you what I think Magic did that was the greatest thing of all that he did. He took the fear out of it. Our greatest enemy in life is fear. And that's what was hovering at that time in our lives, was fear of this dread disease.
It really closed that gap of misunderstanding about persons with HIV. Because if Magic is living with HIV, well then, you know, it's unfortunate that it's a disease, but it's okay. There's nothing really wrong with you because we know there's nothing wrong with Magic.
I'm back.